Well, thank you very much. It really is a real pleasure to be here. To call them willing participants is maybe slightly subjective and slightly untrue. They didn't know you were going to be here, so that is a slight unfairness on them. That's not true. They did know you were here. It is a delight to be here and talking about technology and tourism, particularly for me as an Apple geek. I've never seen so many iPads in a single room before, so congratulations for that. What we're doing is it's a slightly false focus group, I guess, in some respects. Normally, in a focus group, we would be sitting around a table all talking to each other. On this occasion, we're sitting around about 25 tables speaking to you. Our respondents have been asked to just to focus on me, really, asking the questions. It'll probably be slightly more sort of ad hoc than what we would normally expect in terms of discussion. So, without further ado, I think we should just crack on. What I would like to do is I'm going to ask each of our panel just to tell me a little bit about themselves, and then we'll talk about holidays in general, how they tend to book them, what are the things that they look for, and use of technology within that as well. So, panel, please just tell me a little bit about yourself. The things I'm looking for are just your name, approximate age, and just tell me a little bit about yourself as well in terms of your sort of attitudes to technology. So I would say my name's Neil, I'm 31, married, 3 children, I work in market research, I'm a technophile, Apple geek, social media enthusiast. That's the sort of things that we're looking for, okay? So our first respondent is yourself, Martha. So Martha, why don't you kick us off?
Hi, I'm Martha. I'm a late baby boomer. Last year the baby boom, do the math. I'm from the United States. I grew up just south of Toronto in New York, but I moved here from Colorado about 2 years ago. I am starting my second career in architectural conservation, so I'm in an MSc program at the University of Edinburgh. I was formerly a charity consultant, a fundraiser, and I have one son who is a second year in university in Boston. And I love technology. I'm probably a sifter. I find what I like to use and I use it. So for example, I have a Twitter account and several hundred followers who must be very bored because I never post anything.
Great. And Martha, tell me a little bit about your sort of use of maybe laptops, tablets, smartphones. Are they the sorts of things you use, and to what sort of proportions?
Yeah, I have an iMac that I would probably choose over my partner. If you throw the iPad in as well, I'm really in love with my iPad. I take all my notes on it, and I do have a smartphone that I probably use about a third of what it's capable of doing.
Great. Well, we hope you're all very happy together. Okay, yourself, Joe.
Yeah, my name's Joe, from Carlisle, north of England, Cumbria. 27, I'm doing a PhD in mechanical engineering at the moment at Edinburgh. So I've been here for a few years, but yeah, and I've got a kind of love-hate relationship with technology. That I like design work, I like everything that goes along with kind of designing 3D models, etc., but I don't like how it's taken over from actually physical, like holding a map, looking through a book. I prefer the actual physical kind of wandering and getting lost, rather than having to rely on bloody sat-nav and then failing and then waiting for half an hour and then wondering where I can go and get a coffee somewhere. Yeah.
Are you going to be okay talking about technology?
Yeah.
So tell me again about use of sort of laptops, tablets, smartphones, things like that. Presumably as a student you don't have any of those things.
No, can't afford any of those.
But what sorts of things do you use and why?
Yeah, so I use laptop, smartphone, so especially when I'm in Britain, I've got that on my car and use it as my sat-nav to get around.
Yep.
In that sense, it's useful. But abroad, I'd usually kind of use the Wi-Fi somewhere, plan, and then go out.
Perfect.
So not using it while I'm walking around.
Great, thank you, Joe. And Anna, we have Anna next.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm 20 and I'm currently studying a degree in economic history at Edinburgh University. I'm from Brighton originally and I'm not too bad with technology, pretty good with social media, like networking, websites. I've got a smartphone, I've got a laptop, I've got a tablet.
What do you use them all for? What are the things that you use a laptop for that you wouldn't use your tablet for, or vice versa?
I predominantly use my tablet when I was traveling last year, which was really handy, being in like foreign countries where there isn't very much access to the internet. It was very useful, although now that I'm here, I tend to use my laptop far more, just because it's right there in front of me.
And will you be one of these people we see on holiday with a giant tablet taking photos of things?
No, not at all.
So
No.
it's something special
No,
for that as well.
it was,
Brilliant,
just
thank you.
for contact with parents.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anna. Okay, next we have John.
Hi, I'm John. I'm a research fellow at the University of Edinburgh. I'm originally from Boston, but I live in Tennessee now. And I've been here about 15 months working on a grant for renewable energy. And I sit in front of a computer all day, and I have a laptop, and that's where my technology ends. I'm not into social media, cell phones, anything. And when I go on a trip, I do all my due diligence in front of a desktop before I leave, because I don't like to carry anything with me when I'm walking around a strange city other than money and a few credit cards. So I like to be unencumbered when I travel, and I do all my homework before I leave home.
Perfect, so they do still exist. Great news. Okay, and last we have Anne.
Hi, my name's Anne. I am retired, and I'll leave it at that. And I have a son and a daughter, 2 grandsons, and if they knew I was here talking about technology, they would have hysterics. I am a late beginner, and I'm not really, I use the basics. I use my phone, I have a computer, I'm on Facebook, but I'm a stalker. That's what they call me, the stalker.
Okay,
So I use it when I need to. And it's good for finding out if you want to go somewhere and you want to find out where to eat, or good hotels or good restaurants. But I prefer the personal touch. I like to talk to people. So I find it difficult, but it is a necessary thing to do nowadays. You can't exist without it. So you have to learn to use it as best as you can.
Great, thank you, Anne. The stalker will have a security escort you out afterwards. So that's fantastic, thank you, and quite a variety there in terms of experiences. I suppose thinking about in the context of this conference as well, in terms of tourism, what one place in Scotland that you have visited would you say is your favourite place to go, and why? And this time I'm going to start with Anna. Anna, can you, sorry to put you on the spot.
That's all right.
What about you in terms of places to visit in Scotland? What's the one favourite place you've been, and why?
I really like Edinburgh. Like I moved here recently, but I really enjoy it here. In addition to that, I recently visited like Ben Nevis area, which was amazing, and I think that's probably one of the best like walking trips that I've done, which was definitely an awesome place.
And what sort of appeals to you there? Because obviously you've kind of chosen 2 areas, one being kind of city, one being very much rural. So you know what is it that kind of speaks to you about each of those areas that appeals to you?
I suppose I love Edinburgh for the social life, the history, everything about it is quite exciting. And then I really loved the kind of more rural areas for the landscape, just enjoying what was like, appreciating what was actually there, because they are quite different, and it's nice to get away from one for a while.
Great, perfect, thank you. John, why don't you take it from there as well, one place?
Well, I like Stirling a lot. I probably didn't want to think that would be my choice, but I think it's very underrated. There's the castle, there's the Wallace Monument right nearby, and the nice town centre with a lot of pubs. I really like Stirling.
Right, so there's a marketing strapline there. Stirling, Scotland's most underrated city.
I think, yeah.
Perfect, okay, brilliant. And what about you? What's good for you?
I came to Scotland many years ago, to Glasgow, and then we moved to abroad, and then when my husband retired, we came back and we lived here. And I love Edinburgh. It's really nice. I like the East Coast. We live in Fife. And I think one of my favourite places is St Andrews. It's a lovely place to go. It has a beautiful beach. It has lots of history attached to it. And yeah, so, but I do love Edinburgh. It's a beautiful place. Got great restaurants.
Excellent.
And bars.
And bars as well. Fantastic. Joe, what about yourself?
Well, I'm kind of big into my whiskey now, so going to Speyside, going to a lot of other distilleries, having trips around there. I love the islands, so Arran, I've been up to Stornoway, Lewis Harris, and just kind of just wandering around in the wilderness. Yeah, it's nice.
Excellent. Hope you find your way home. Okay, brilliant. And Martha, what about you? What would you say?
I think the place that I love the best, and it's hard to choose because there's so much that's great, was Shetland. We went up for the folk festival last May, and even though we went for a specific event, there was so much there. There are prehistoric sites. There's one of the best local history museums I've ever been in, and I'm a historian by training, so I tend to love to go see museums. Really good fishing, great bird watching. The only thing it didn't really have were great restaurants and pubs, but it was just a beautiful, fascinating place.
And interestingly on that, sort of taking us kind of beyond what we like into kind of how we actually managed to get there, how does one organise a trip to Shetland? Because presumably it's not just a case of jumping in a car.
Again, you know, we were going for the folk festival, so the fact that the folk festival is very well organized and has a good website.
Yep.
And then the next thing we did was go to probably Opoto and look and see what were the cheapest airfares, what was the most, you know, we wanted to fly rather than take the ferry.
Yep.
We knew that. Then we almost always go to TripAdvisor to find the place to stay.
Right.
I've found that Shetland's not really an exception to a rule, kind of a rule I have, that the local tourism board's website is not usually the place we find the place we want to stay.
Why is that? Why is that not
They
quite?
tend not to be very well updated. They're very static. They you know, they're put up, and you know, these guest houses and these hotels may, at that point that they put the website up 2 years ago, have been great or even operating.
But no, they're historical
But
sites that you like to visit.
they tend to be a little stale, and I think that's just true wherever we've planned a trip.
Yeah.
TripAdvisors usually are first go-to.
Great. So I'd like to sort of open this up to the rest of the panel. Thinking about, let's say that you decided that you wanted to run away from this conference and book a holiday somewhere in Scotland. Where would you go? Where would you actually begin that journey? So I'll start this time with who's not avoiding my eyes. John, why don't you kick us off? How do you begin that journey?
Well, I'm from a big city, and Glasgow reminds me of Cincinnati. I lived in Cincinnati for a while, and I like cities. If I want nature, I could go back to the mountains of Tennessee. So when I travel, I like to be in urban areas and check out the bar scene and the restaurants. And so I would probably start in Glasgow, and you know.
And how do you, sort of prior knowledge of Glasgow aside, perhaps, how do you kind of discern that actually this is a suitable place for me to go based on my preferences? So you've said you'd like to see the night scene, you'd like to have a look at the kind of architecture of the cities. How do you actually discern whether or not this is a kind of suitable destination?
Well, in Scotland, you don't have many choices for big cities, so Glasgow would be a starting point, and it's an easy drive to. There's some sites around Falkirk and Stirling, as I mentioned, and it's really a short drive to Edinburgh. Okay. So it's a good launching point.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And others, thinking about booking a holiday anywhere, where does that sort of journey begin? What sorts of information are you looking for at that stage? Joe, could you take this one?
Cost.
Cost. Okay.
It always comes down to cost with me at the moment. So if I'm looking for somehow to get somewhere, I want to be able to travel there easily. I want it not to be too long a trip. I want to be able to find somewhere affordable, which is then in a good distance from places I might want to see. So if I was going to do a whiskey tour or something, I might want to go to an area which has specifically quite a lot of distilleries in one area, so I'm not having to travel around a lot.
Great. And when you're talking about cost is a big issue for you, so how are you determining what you can and can't afford? Do you start with a budget, or do you just kind of click kind of cheapest and sort by cheapest and start on that basis?
Yeah, sometimes I've done that. Yeah, it just gives you an idea about actually what's out there. So if you think about a part of a country that you might want to see, and you randomly search, and then you see what's affordable, what's got good reviews, and then what can you actually get to easily. Those are the three things that I sort of look for, and then narrow it down from there to then what do I want from that holiday. If I've got nothing in mind and I just want a holiday randomly somewhere, that's where I start. Great,
thanks. And what about you? So if you're deciding on a holiday destination and you're looking for that sort of information, what sort of process do you go through when booking that?
I would Google it.
You Google it, so you would start on Google. If you wanted to go to, I mean, St Andrews this summer, you said, so let's assume you wanted to go and spend a week in St Andrews.
I went into Google and just put in St Andrews and see what came up, or if I was going...
Just Google the city and take it from there.
Whatever country I was going to, I would just Google that and then follow through, because there's always follow-ons you can, find out.
And as somebody who, I mean, you said yourself at the start you weren't particularly au fait with technology, you weren't particularly keen on technology, and yet the first place you would go would be online.
Well, yeah, I have found that Google answers a lot of my problems and solves a lot of my problems. So I have to give it that, yeah.
What other problems are we talking about?
Well, if you're... No, I keep those to myself.
Okay, no. I see.
No, if I'm looking for something specific and I can't find it, you just go into Google and you type it in, and up it comes where you can buy it, how much it costs, the different... And I must admit, I am a great Google fan. It does solve a lot of stuff, and I do charity work, and I'm quite often looking for stuff where you send pencil cases out to Africa and that, and you run out of stuff, so you just go into Google and you come and up it comes, or into Amazon. And up it comes, and it's delivered to the door in 3 days' time, and it's so easy.
So it's an interesting one, because you say you go on to Google, you type in the destination you're going for. Do you just take the first thing at the very top? Do you kind of scroll down?
No, I would go through all the different things that come up as a result of that. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you, Anne. Martha, so I know you kind of kicked this discussion off, but tell me about how you would go about booking a holiday.
This is actually pertinent because we're leaving for a 3-week holiday in South Africa on Sunday, and so my mind is very much, it's 81 degrees in Cape Town today. That's something like 24 degrees Celsius.
Thank you for doing that, translating it for us, because we were all confused.
And so this is very present to us, and we really took a multi-pronged approach. We knew we wanted to go to South Africa, someplace warm, in March. So we booked our flights through British Airways. We had enough air miles. So the first thing we probably did was go and check, again, how can we get there in the most affordable, highest class for the tickets that we have, because it's a long flight. And we just let that reservation sit for a long time before we really started planning things.
So you got the flight booked, and then you looked at the detail later.
Yeah, and I don't think we actually booked hotels starting until November. We happened to have a friend who was had visiting family from South Africa. So we sat down with them at tea and sort of said, what are some of the really great things to do in Cape Province? So he gave us kind of a list of things we might want to check out. Then we went to Google and looked at those various things and said, yeah, we want to do this, we want to do that, yeah, we want to do that. And we booked the big things, like we're going to be in Cape Town for a week, getting that hotel set up because it's high season. We knew we wanted to go to a game preserve and a specific one, so we made that reservation. I have to tell you, honestly, we still have 3 days towards the end of the trip. We've booked nothing because we think, well, maybe there's some place we're going to want to go back to, or just leave it up to...
So this is very interesting, because obviously there's quite a degree of planning in there.
Yeah.
And I suppose to an extent I'm interested in, is nobody just keen just to walk into a shop and walk out with a holiday, that everything's planned for them? Is that just not, does that just not happen anymore? John, why don't you take this one?
No, that doesn't appeal to me. I like to sort of explore when I go and not have everything mapped out. I have a general idea of the high points I want to hit, but I remain flexible when I travel.
And how do you maintain that flexibility? What are the things whilst you're on holiday that you're doing to kind of find things to do or acquire information?
Oh, it's easy when you're single. You don't have to answer to anyone. You just wander around. it's built-in flexibility. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So John's single, if anybody didn't get that, so interesting. Anna, if you could take it from here as well. Do you have no desire to do that, or do you like to plan everything yourself?
I'm not one for planning, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, if I'm planning a trip, we have like an innovative learning week coming up soon, and it means we kind of get a week off-ish. Well, you know. But so me and my friends were thinking about like planning a trip somewhere, and basically I open EasyJet and Megabus and just see where I can go for the cheapest amount of money. And yeah, just kind of take it from there.
To be young again.
Yeah.
So, what is it about? I mean, how can you get away with doing that? Just pitching up somewhere and that being how your holiday works.
I suppose I've been quite lucky, to be honest. I've travelled quite a lot last year, and I went to most places and probably turned up, walked into a hostel and was like, "Do you have anything for tonight?
Yeah.
Like, can I work here? Please give me some money."
Wow.
And it's always worked out okay. I suppose, again, like, it's easy when you're just doing, like, you're just planning for yourself, or, but like saying that, I would always probably check online, maybe the night before or something, just to make sure somewhere would like be able to, I'm not going to turn up somewhere and literally have nowhere to stay and be sleeping in the station, although I've done that before too.
And did your mother know?
Yeah.
Okay, so brilliant. So I'm well aware of the time, and I'm starting to hear stomachs rumbling. So trying to keep it quite sharp, what role does technology play whilst you are on holiday? Martha, can you kick us off with that one?
The best example I have is that we were in Prague with a taxi driver who didn't know where he was going, and we got out our Google Maps and told him where to go.
Okay.
It's a really, I think while we're there, checking museum time openings, making reservations for dinner if we haven't arranged that in advance. One or the other of us always has our smartphone on.
Yeah.
And we'll usually review the next day's doings on our tablets,
Yeah.
just making sure we know how public transport or things like that. So
Okay, that's interesting.
really can't imagine traveling without it now, unless I'm backpacking.
Are there any risks associated with that? Because I mean, I once got stuck in Charles de Gaulle Airport waiting for a sat-nav to work, and it didn't, so I had to go and buy a map. What are the kind of the challenges of relying on technology during holiday? Joe, why don't you take this? There are none. Is that the case?
There are absolutely none. No.
Okay, so what role does technology play for you whilst on a holiday?
I mean, I have been stuck in a station because I looked at the wrong train times, because they're out of season train times, and this was in the north of Italy. I had to spend a night in the train station because they weren't running over the border for that period of time.
Okay.
But then again, it works the other way, that I found out about the French rail strike through the internet, and then had to fly instead of going by train. So it kind of it swings around about to whether things are updated sometimes. That's the other. I suppose that's the main thing. If things aren't updated, then you can't really trust them.
Okay.
But yeah.
And other people, I mean, do you use your smartphones? Do you use your tablets? Do you use laptops whilst you're actually on holiday? Do you use these things? John, what about you? What technology do you use whilst on holiday?
On the rare occasion I would bring a laptop with me on a trip, I would use the Wi-Fi in the public areas of the hotel, because it's usually free.
Is that the sort of thing that you check before you go on holiday?
That's
or is
something
it
I would
assumed
check.
not? You would check it beforehand?
Yeah.
Is it a deal breaker to have Wi-Fi available for free in a hotel?
Yeah, I think so. Because I know, I don't use a cell phone, but I know you can get a lot of roaming and charges and things like that on your cell. And I don't need additional expenses.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell you one quick story. I was at Edinburgh Airport. The flight was canceled due to weather. Everyone takes out their smartphones and uses their airline apps to rebook. I just walk up to the counter. I rebooked, and I saw all those people at Heathrow the next day, so they weren't ahead of me with their cell phone apps. They were all there at Heathrow the next day, so...
You shouldn't have shared that tip.
Well,
That's the sort of thing you keep a secret, I think. Okay, that's brilliant. And I mean, Martha, you were talking earlier on about use of Evernote or something like that.
Yeah.
Could you just unpack
Yeah,
that
I
a
just
little
actually
bit?
spent last night completing an Everbook notebook for our South Africa trip. So for every day I have where we're staying, the maps to it. I did some clips from because it's very easy to bring things in from the internet. So I'll just have the website links for the sites that we want to see. Notes from people about, go to this restaurant for lunch or go down that street. So I have, 3 weeks, every day has its own note. And I think what I may do is actually import photographs afterwards so that we use it as a kind of scrapbook for the trip as well.
Very
And
impressive.
maybe update it while we're there. We'll see.
So this brings up an interesting question. To those who haven't perhaps mentioned Evernote or aren't aware of Evernote, I suppose the wider question is how appealing is some form of travel planning app? And I guess what I mean by that is, can you depend, excuse me, can you depend for a trip on a sort of travel planner like that maybe has, that you upload an itinerary into, or that gives you all the details of where you're going, or whatever. But that kind of idea of depending on a travel planning app, how appealing is that, and why? And I'm going to come to you first, if that's okay. So how appealing is that concept?
To me personally, I think it would drive me crazy because I would I'd find it really difficult to have everything planned out exactly where I was going. But I think, there are obviously benefits, but if it was me, I'd like to wake up in the morning, see what the weather's like, see how I'm feeling, what I fancy doing. If I'd been out the night before, probably stay in bed. But yeah, I would not want anything planned, to be honest.
Okay, great. Joe, what about yourself?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I'm always late, so I need options. I need to, and writing down the number of options that I need probably would take too much time in one of these things. I like to get up in the morning and think, actually, I can't be bothered going to that place. I'll have a look at doing something else, or it's raining, or the weather's not fantastic today, or it is, and maybe you want to do something different.
Okay,
so,
great.
yeah.
Thinking now just very quickly about reviews. TripAdvisor is something that's already been mentioned once or twice. How important are reviews when you are planning your holiday? Anne, I'm going to come to you first. Reviews, how important are they?
I don't think they would be important to me at all. I'd do a review on a restaurant or something, but not on a holiday.
Okay.
Because I would be going on a holiday because it was somewhere I wanted to go.
Sure. So what about if you were looking at maybe a hotel or some accommodation?
I
How
would
important
do a
would
review on
be
a
that?
hotel or a
Okay.
restaurant, yeah. Unfortunately, I never do a review back. If I've been anywhere, I never go back in and put my review on it, and I should really do that, I suppose, shouldn't
It's
you?
okay, we'll
Yeah.
not judge you, don't
But
worry.
yeah, but I
So-
don't do it.
I think you're not
I just
alone.
read other people's.
Excellent. Okay, when looking at sort of TripAdvisor, when looking at reviews in general, what do you do? Do you just read the negative ones, or do you look at the
I go
positive ones?
straight to the negative ones.
Straight to the negative ones.
Because if they're really bad, I want to see that up front, and then I read the good ones to sort of see, was that an aberration?
Okay.
I don't want to fall in love with something from the excellent reviews only to get to the negative ones and find out, the plumbing has never worked there.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'd go to
Anna?
the most recent ones, the ones at the
Interesting.
top, because I like loads of places are constantly developing and getting better.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go to the top, see what people have said most recently, and then maybe scroll through. I quite like the little like bars at the top as well, especially if you're looking at accommodation and it's like, oh yeah, this is 80% good area. Like, I mean, I know it might not mean that much, but
Sure.
And in terms of reviewing back, I'll review back if there's the possibility of winning something, like, get a free holiday. Unfortunately, it's never happened, but,
Keep trying, keep
Yeah.
trying. We'll get there. Okay, brilliant. How do you share your experiences on holiday, either during it or after? Who of you uploads your very happy holiday snaps onto Facebook so that all your friends can look on enviously?
Facebook.
Facebook, okay, yeah, Facebook. John, you don't.
no.
And how do you share your experiences? No. Okay, great. Just with
to
the people
myself.
who are there. Okay, brilliant. It's just for the memories. Okay, brilliant. With that in mind, I suppose, do any of you do any form of review, either during it or afterwards, whether it's kind of live updating on Twitter about the good experiences you've had, whether it's kind of just posting some photos on Facebook afterwards? Does anybody do that kind of review process? So John, you're nodding, so why don't you kick this off?
I always do reviews on hotels and airline flights and things of that nature.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So still aware of the time, what we asked our panel to do was to take a look at, I think it was 4 websites each, which were pre-selected. And what I'm going to ask them to do is really just to give me one kind of summative sentence, I suppose, about the things that they saw that they found pleasing, the things that they found best about the specific sites that they looked at. And what you'll see as each panel member goes through is those sites at the top. So what we're asking really is just to focus on the good areas of it, some of the things that I think we can learn in terms of best practice. So Martha, we'll start with you again. So could you tell me about the websites that you viewed and what the things that were that you liked most about some of those websites?
I think what I really liked was websites that give you an idea of the spirit of the site with their features.
Yeah.
So for example, the dungeon had this really kind of neat interactive thing.
Yeah.
Mary King's Close you could click and get a bio of the characters. I like knowing what it is going to be in a kind of come-on way that's a little exciting. So for a site to sort of tell me what it is and how it came to be with not a lot of words. But I want to be able to find, when are you open?
Yeah.
How much does it cost, and where are you located, probably right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that needs to be really easy to find. And it's a really delicate balance between really come on, essential, come visit us, and so much information that you feel like, why should I bother going to visit you, because now I already know
Interesting.
everything about it.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Thank you, Martha. Joe, can you take us take it from here?
Yep. There was I suppose it's the same kind of thing. It's a simple website which is kind of giving you a bit of I don't know how to explain it, but it's like encompassing what it is, I suppose.
So is it something about the feel, and I think Martha described it as the spirit
Yeah,
of what you
yeah.
should expect arriving there?
Like it's I mean, something that's bold but not too brash, something that kind of
Yep.
is informative but also simple, something that kind of catches your eye. So I do kind of like moving images, something that especially on the front page, if you've got 5 different things and you can click back and fast forward.
Great, yeah.
Um,
So informative, simple, brings
Informative.
to life the spirit of what to expect, but
Yeah.
doesn't tell you absolutely everything that you'll see.
Yeah, but there was one on one website which was fantastic. It was what to do beforehand, before coming to here, what to do after it, you
Yeah.
know, and not just advertising themselves, but advertising the whole area, which
Great.
is really, something different, I thought, from most of the websites I saw.
Brilliant. So well done, whoever did that. Okay, Anna, yourself, what were yours?
I suppose, I don't know, I'll go into a website. I'm very interactive with the color scheme and the photos that they have on. At the beginning, I like it if there's pictures and videos, little short clips are always nice.
Can I ask about that in terms of videos and short clips? What are the things that you're looking for? Is it those rolling landscapes? Is it kind of diverse pictures of individuals kind of enjoying themselves? What are the things that you're actually looking at?
I mean, over cheesiness is never good.
Over cheesiness, okay, that's good for the brief.
Like the nuclear family with, that's kind of a bit oh God, I'm not gonna go there. But stuff where, learning a bit about the staff who work there, I think that's quite nice, and depending on what you're doing. But again, with the spirit of the website, I think is very important, especially I feel like if I go onto a website and it looks, this is to do with price again, but if it looks expensive, I'm unlikely to carry on.
That's interesting.
Yeah, if there's too much, yeah.
So what is the
luxury.
balance there between premium and budget, that it doesn't actually look too cheap?
Yeah, I suppose it's important not to be tacky. It's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the websites that I went on I thought was really good, and it had a good kind of theme, and it was quite interactive and dramatic, which was really nice.
Yeah.
But It is very dependent on the person, I suppose, and what
Right.
they enjoy doing.
Thank you very much, Anna. Okay, John, what about yourself?
Well, what caught my eye when you brought up the web page was the video that starts running, or the slideshow, and they spell out the location exactly, so you know where you're at. You know the parking situation, which is important when you pick up your rental car at the airport and go somewhere. You want to know if there's going to be charges for parking, and if there is going to be parking available.
Okay.
So those are the things that caught my eye.
Can I ask about that notion that you started with, talking about sort of the video comes straight up? How appealing and how important are kind of videos on these kinds of sites that you were looking at?
Well, if it's a video or a slideshow, and if it's well done, it's important.
Yeah.
It catches your eye and keeps you on the site.
And again, what is that about? Is that about bringing to life what to expect, or is it about formality, informality? What is it about videos that kind of help?
It sort of gives you an idea of what to expect, so you're not completely unfamiliar with the location when you get there.
Yeah.
You say, okay, yeah, I saw that just a few days ago on the video.
Brilliant.
When you feel better, relaxed.
Great. Anne, what about yourself?
Well, the websites I looked at on the whole were pretty good. The information was easily accessible and easily read. There was one that was very difficult to read because of the colour of the print on it. That was really difficult, so I just gave up on that one.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
2 minutes, and thought life's too short, so I just stopped it. Sorry. The others were all really good, yeah, and it was difficult to pick out which one I preferred to the other. There was one overall one that I felt more comfortable with, but the others were great.
Okay.
But the one with the bad print on it was really difficult to read.
Okay, well, we'll not ask who that was.
No.
Brilliant. I think we might be out of time. Am I correct in thinking that? We're doing fine. 2 minutes. Okay, brilliant. So we may have some questions that the panel have actually, or that you guys have actually sent to us. Is that the case, Shona? Please welcome my lovely assistant. So this is called paper, by the way, at the technology conference. It was very big in the 80s. Okay. I want one final question for each of you. Excluding availability and price, okay? When you're looking at a website to book accommodation, what are the most important things? So when you're looking at a website to book accommodation, and we're excluding price and availability, what are the most important things that site can do? I'm not going to pick on any of you to answer this, but does anybody have any sort of thoughts on that immediately?
Location.
Location, okay. So actually just telling you exactly where it is. Now, when you say location, what do you mean? Do you mean city? Do you mean exactly where it is in terms of situated within that city? Or?
Yeah, because if you don't have a rental car, if it's not centrally located, if it's outside, then you're going to have to find your own transportation. So.
Mm-hmm. And does that include how to get there?
Yeah, that would be helpful. See, I'm from the U.S., and we just get in our big cars, and on the big highways, we just drive everywhere.
Yeah.
And when we get there, we expect to have free parking at the mall or whatever. So it's a completely different ball game over here. Parking is scarce, and it costs.
Okay, so free coffee, free parking, coffee and donuts, is that?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. Okay, brilliant.
I was going to
Martha.
say, I definitely want to see what the guest rooms look like.
Yep.
And really specifically, if they've got different levels of rooms, or if it's a smaller guest house where they have named rooms. I want to see what those rooms look like. And I love the sites that have 360 tours of the rooms. I'm less impressed by knowing what the public rooms look like. That would be secondary important. But
Okay, great.
and especially the bathrooms.
Okay, yeah, excellent. Can't imagine why. Okay, so here's a question as well. Would you expect to use a mobile version of the national tourism website, visitscotland.com? I can't imagine who put this in. Would you expect to use a mobile version of the national tourism website, visitscotland.com, to search for information whilst you were here on holiday? So would you actually use a mobile version of the Visit Scotland website whilst you're here on holiday? Not for you, not for you. Joe, what about yourself?
Unless I'm waiting for a bus to take me somewhere, or I'm doing absolutely nothing else.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be walking around looking at an app to tell me something I'd be yeah,
I have
looking about.
Okay, it's still a good idea, whoever put that in, okay? Don't feel discouraged. And very finally, how important is online check-in and online checkout for hotels?
Super nice.
Super nice, okay,
Yeah.
great. Does anybody think it's not super nice? Is that something you actually would really like to see on a website? Online check-in, checkout process? John, slightly
Not a
indifferent.
deal breaker, no.
Okay, what about our young ones?
I don't know. If it's there, it's there. I'm unlikely to use it, but
Yeah.
like I don't understand why you can't just go in and check in once you're there if you're like
Brilliant.
open.
Well, I think it would be really good and appropriate if we could thank our panel members for taking part. So they really did do a fantastic job, so thank you all, thank you very much, and thank you.